class. The topic for today's tutorial is bearing and distance. Bearing is used to locate the position of a particular object, and you know that distance is the length between a particular object from another. Now, before we go into that, let us first of all remind ourselves the cardinal point. As you know that we have 4 major cardinal points and we have another 4 cardinal points. We call the first one the primary direction, while we have the secondary direction. The primary direction are the north. Remember, north is here, south, east is where the sun rises, and west is where the sun sets. Now, we have this to be the first 4 primary directions, and they are separated by 90 degrees, that is a right angle. You have another 90, you have 90 degree, and you have another 90 degree. Now we have other secondary direction, that is the direction between north and east, which we know as northeast. The direction between south and east, which we know as southeast. We also have the direction between south and west, which is southwest, and the last one is direction between north and west, which is northwest. So we have these 8 directions. That means a particular object can be in the position of northeast, southwest. Also, if it is between north and east, we said it is at northeast, or southwest if it's between south and east, and southwest if it is between south and west, and northwest if it is between north and west. Now, you should remember that if you want to read the bearing of a particular position, the position of a particular object, it is taken from the north and we go in clockwise direction. Remember, clockwise. Now, if I have something like this, this is the north and my object is somewhere here, that means the location of that object will come like this. Now, it comes from the north, and even if it's coming from the north, it comes in clockwise direction. Now, this is clockwise, and the other part is anti-clockwise. For example, if I have something like this, if I go to the other side, that is going in this direction, is the anti-clockwise direction. Now, having known this, we can now move to knowing the bearing of a particular object from a particular position. Now, we want to learn how to find the location and the position of objects, that is the bearing. Now, the bearing is the angle measured in a clockwise direction. Remember, clockwise direction from the north. And the bearing is used to describe the position or location of a given place with reference to another. That is, when you want to find the bearing of a particular object, you have to reference it to another. For example, if Abuja is 20 kilometers north of Lokoja, then we can represent it and said we know where Abuja is. Now, for you to locate that, you first locate Lokoja. Let's assume this is Lokoja. Now, it's on a cardinal point, and Abuja is 20 kilometers north of Lokoja. That means you draw it up, which is what? Which is north. Now, that means we have Abuja here. Now, that means the bearing. Now, if you now want to ask the bearing of Abuja from Lokoja now is north, that is on the north. Now, for example, for another example, if you have a tan A, now this is, before we go to that place, this is 20 kilometers. That is the distance between Abuja and Lokoja. Now, If I take the second example, that is, if tan A is 55 kilometer northeast of tan B, that is, what you first need to locate is tan A. Now let's assume this is tan A now. Remember that this is north and this is east. Now you have to say, sorry, this is tan B rather. Now, if tan A is northeast of tan B, that is between north and east. So that means tan A is somewhere here. So you also draw the 4 cardinal points for tan A. Now this is tan A. Now this means tan A is northeast. Now looking at this location of tan A, it falls at the northeast part of tan B, and it is 55 kilometers away from tan B. So we can simply say the bearing of tan B from tan A is southwest. How did we get that? Now when you want to measure, you measure from the north. Now, and when we are saying from, we are talking about the position from. Now that means I measure from here. This is south and this is west. Now B is located at southwest of A, and the bearing of A from B is northeast, because when you read it like this, it falls at northeast. So when you are asked to find the bearing of a particular location from another location, you have to read from north. Now looking at this, now you must note the position or the location in front of the from. Now the first one is saying bearing of B from A. That means we measure it on A, and when it states bearing of A from B, that means we measure it on B. Now we must take note of that. Now in finding the bearing of a particular object, we have two methods. There are two methods of describing the direction of points. Now the first one is acute angle or compass bearing. That is, when we want to report it, we use acute angle. Remember, an acute angle is the angle between 0 and 90 degrees. So while reporting this, we report it in form of a number between 0 and 90 degrees. Now, for example, if I have a location like this and I have another location like this, now, and I have the distance between them, if I have this to be A and this to be B, and I know that from here to here I'm given to be 52 degrees. Now what I will say is that the bearing of B from A is, I said when you are taking from, that means you read it from A. Now the bearing of B from A is, now we take it from north. Since from north to this line is 52 degrees and it falls between north and east, so we report it as north 52 degree east. Now for another example, if I have another tan, maybe tan C somewhere here, and I want to find the bearing of C from A. That is, there is a line from here to this place. This is point C, and I am given from here to be 46 degrees. Now in order to write this in acute angle, now I want to find the bearing of C from A. That means I will take it from north to this. Now the bearing is from north to this place, but when I want to report it as an acute angle, I have to report it in form of southwest. And by doing that, I will need to know from here to here. Now remember, this is a quadrant which is 90 degree. So that means from here to here is 90 minus 46. 90 degree minus 46, which is 44. So I report this as the bearing of C from A is south 44 degree east. So that is how to report in acute angle or compass bearing. Now the second method is 3 digits or surveyor's method. We have the 3 digits or surveyor method. Now this method is reported in 3 digits. Now what we use here is we report the value in 3 digits. Now just like the question we have in above, let's assume this is point A and point B, and this is located, and I have this place to be 56 degree, just like what I have above. Now the bearing of B from A, we're going to read it from north and till we get to the line, and that is 56 degree. But when we want to write it now, we don't write south, we don't write west or north, we report it in 3 digits, and 56 in 3 digits will be 056 degrees. Now this is how to write it in 3 digits or surveyor's method. Now just like what we have above, if we have another point C here, now if I have point C and this is connected to this and connected to this, and I have this part to be 46 just as I have it the other time. Now that means the bearing of C from A, I'm going to read it from north, that is from here down to the line. Now that means from here to here is 90 and from here to here is 46. That means that bearing is 90 plus 46, which is equal to 136 degree. This is in 3 digits already, so we don't need to add anything to it. So that is how to write in both acute angle bearing and 3 digit bearing. Now we're going to solve some example. Now we take some example. Now in the example, we have to write the angles in both acute angle and 3 methods bearing. We're going to write it in both acute angle and 3 digit method bearing. Now so we have number 1, A. Now looking at the question given to us now, we have point A and we have point O, and this is 76 degree. Now in acute angle, remember we write it in between the direction. Now if this is north, this is east. Now in acute angle is going to be north 76 degree east. Now that's the first part of the question. Now the second part asks us to write it in 3 digits. Now in 3 digits, we need to write it in 3 digits. That is, since it's not more than 90 degrees, so we write it as 0.76 degree. Now that has answered question 1A. Now we go to 1B. Now to write this, the bearing of B from O, now from point O, we're going to write it in both acute angle and 3 digits. So the first one, in acute angle, we're going to write the bearing of B from O is bearing of B from O is, now we need to write it in between the directions. Since this is south, this is east, but what we need is this, and we are giving this place to be 42 degree. Now remember that this quadrant is equal to 90. That means this place is 90 degree minus 42 degree, and when you subtract 42 from 90, so we have 48. So we write it as south 48 degrees east. Now the second part, which is in three digits, the bearing of B from O is, now we're going to read it from north, that is from here down to the line. Now remember that from here to here is 90, and from this east to the line is 42. So that means it's 90 degrees plus 42 degrees. So when we add it together, we have 132 degrees. Now since it is in 3 digits already, we leave it like that. Now that's our answer, the second example. So we go to the C part. Now looking at question 3, we see that the position E is located at the fourth quadrant, and we have this to be north, this is west, south and east. Now in acute angle, that means we have to report this as northwest, and if we are going to report it as northwest, that means we need this part. Now to know this part, it is 90 minus 24. 90 minus 24, because from here to here is 90 and you are giving from here to here to be 24, so this will be 24. 90 minus 24 degree, and that is equal to 66 degrees. So we report this as north 66 degree west, because this side is west, so we are reported as north 66 degree west. Now in 3 digits, the bearing of E now from O is, we are going to read it from north. Remember, clockwise direction, that is from here down to the line. So we take it from here. From here to here is 90 degree. We have 90 plus from here to here another 90 degree plus from here to here another 90 degree, then plus from west to the line, which is 24 plus 24 degree. So when you add everything together, you have 294 degrees. So that means the bearing of E from O is 294 degrees. That is in 3 digits method, which is also known as surveyor's method. Now we take example 2. The second example asks us to find the bearing of X from Y and the bearing of Y from X. Now from what we have learned above, I said when you are asked to find the bearing of a particular point from another point, you measure from the point in front of the from. Now so we are asked to find the bearing of X. Now we measure it from the point Y, and that is the line that joins X to Y. You measure it from north till it gets to that line. Now that means from north, now this curve to this line is 56 degrees. So we can report it as 3 digits bearing as 056 degrees. Now we take the second one, which is bearing of Y from X. That is this particular, now we're going to write it from X, that is from here to this side. Now you know that a quadrant is 90 degrees. That means this is 90, this is 90, and you don't know this side. But from your knowledge of angle, this side is equal to this side. So this is 56 degrees. Why? Alternate angle are equal. Alternate angles. Now, when you have two alternative angles, they are equal. That means from here to here is 56 degrees. That means now the bearing of Y from X now, which is from here to here, is the addition of all these values. That is 90 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 56 degrees. So it gives us 236 degrees. So this means the bearing of Y from X is from north till you get to that line coming from Y. And when you find it, you have 90 plus 90 plus 56. Remember, this 56 is gotten from alternative angle. So that is that for example 2. So from there, you take the following exercise. Now, in number 1, we are asked to write the bearing of the given letter in both acute angle and 3-digit bearing. Now, remember, when we want to write in acute angle, we write using the direction. Now, looking at the point given to us, point X, we want to find the bearing of X from point O. That means we read it on the point O. Now, from what we know, this is south and this is west. Now, that means this falls between south and west. Now, since it's making the angle with this south directly, which is 27 degrees, so in acute angle, we say it's south 27 degrees west. Now, for the 3 digits, the bearing is from north till it gets to the line. Now remember, this is 90 degree, this is also 90 degree, and from here to here is 27 degrees. That means the bearing in 3 digits is 90 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 27 degrees. And when you add this together, you have 207 degrees. That means the bearing of S from O is 207 degrees in 3 digits and 27 south 27 degree west in acute angle. So we go to number 2. Now, for the second part of the question, we have to write the bearing of X from Y and the bearing of Y from X. Now, to make it easy, we draw our 4 cardinal points on each of the points, so we know what we are doing. Now, the first one says the bearing of X from Y, and that means we are going to read from Y. So what we need is the angle from north till you get to the line that comes from X, and that is 162 degrees. So that is 162 degrees. Now, for the bearing of Y from S, so that means we need to know it. We are going to read it from Y, from X rather. And if we are going to read it from X, that means we need the angle from north till it gets to this line. Now remember, this is 90 degree, this is 90 degree, this is 90 degree, but you don't know this. Now you need from here to here. Now remember, from here to here and this, they are alternate angle. Now you can know this by subtracting 90 from 162, because from here to here is 90. So this is 162 minus 90 degree, which is equal to 72. So that means if this place is 72, that means this place is also 72 degrees. So that means we add everything together. So we have 90 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 90 degrees plus 72 degrees to give us 342 degrees. So that means the bearing of Y from X is this particular angle, which is calculated to be 342 degrees. Now to the second part of question 2. The second part is also asking us to find the bearing of X from Y and also the bearing of Y from X. Now if we are going to find the bearing of X from Y, that means we are going to read it from Y. Now to make it easy, let's draw the 4 cardinal points on the points. So the bearing of X from Y, we are going to read it from Y, that is from the north to the line. So it is given to be 226 degrees, so we have it to be 226 degrees. Now to the second part, which is the bearing of Y from X, that is, we are going to read it from S, that is from north to the line that comes from Y, that is, this is what we need. But before we can find this, we need this place, because these two angles are alternate angle. Now if from here to here is 90 and from here to here is 90, that means this straight line is 180. So to know this side, that means we have 226 minus 180. That gives us 46 degrees. Now if this is 46 degrees, then this is also 46 degrees. And remember, the bearing of Y from X is from here to here, which is equal to 46 degrees. Now that has answered the pairing of y from x. And with this we have come to the end of finding the pairing using the two methods, that is the acute angle bearing and the 3 digits or surveyor's bearing. Thank you.